G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talk Stuff. Millions, and it is millions of men are quietly going red pill. And the media haters have no clue how, why it is happening. But you'll know. But for those who don't, a little edification is occasionally required. Now this is for the red pill movement itself. It has grown significantly as an online subculture. It has been framed by its supporters as an awakening to hidden social realities, and by its critics a focus point of misogyny and radicalization. Again, as someone there who was in the early days of the red pill revolution and other online movements that we cannot mention on YouTube for the letter that it stands for. Remember that the red pill movement is a much broader movement than just the manosphere, the online dating movement, or mgtow, or any one facet. It is a broad movement, generally classified now by the UN as a threat, because we represent over 25% of the world's population and growing. Just to give you an idea, there are 300 million men in China lying flat. That is part of the manosphere, the non-participation in the corrupt system. Now, media coverage focuses on a few extreme individuals because they want to taint the movement that is, of course, politically motivated. But the fact is, the movement's quiet spread is driven by a complex mixture of personal reasons for going red pill. But let's first have a look at the misleader. I think the misleader is primarily driven by the radical blogs. The radical blogs are where they first test their ideas. If an article in the Guardian goes viral, then you'll see it spread through the broader British establishment, the media establishment, and the American media establishment simultaneously. I think the Guardian is not the only blog. You have the New Yorker, the LA Times, the Washington Post, some little budgie cage paper known as the New York Times. Yeah, I wouldn't put it in the bottom of your budgie cage. The bird would just cover it in poop so that it doesn't have to look at it. So, yes, I don't have a budgie, by the way. It's a cliche that every Australian has a budgie. Isn't that right, Reggie? Reggie's the roo I bash. Inside joke. All right, so if you understand that the manosphere is a multifaceted movement of men, you can understand why Steffi here is having her panties in a twist. Now, the fact is that male feminists are upset that they are not the ones getting the millions of views, that they are not the ones getting the 25, 35 average donation for some is getting to around 5,500 a month in donations, from anywhere from 35 to 3,500 a month. Now, it's a broad generalization, but it is a broad spread because you have channels small and large who are getting donations every day. Does not mean I'm getting donations every day. I am saying every day on YouTube, 25% of channels are getting at least one donation a day. And you've got to remember, right, 77% of those are women, but the rest are men. And the predominant men are all considered manosphere. So you can understand the Guardian, a failed blog, was very upset with the rise of red pill about 9 years ago when I started. Actually, a little, well, give or take. That swallowing the red pill, a journey, right? Now, of course, the Guardian wants to smear all men as feces-infected rodents who like the smell of garbage fire, and they were talking about 2016, male privilege, rape culture, men's rights, all being lumped into one stew. That's what they do. They oversimplify everything because it's the only way they can cope with the fact that why am I getting all the views, right? Remember, they are driven by pettiness, the lack of virtue. When you take out all virtue, that's why it's called the left wing, because when you take out virtue, that is what's left. Right? You have the wrath, the anger, the bitterness. You have petty jealousy. You have the woe is me crowd that their arguments like sites like 4chan exist only for revenge porn, that is posting images without consent, where in fact where the actions of a few are always inflated and projected onto all men. Look at the quality of locker room talk. Look at women. We're all talking about the pregame, and men, they're talking about chicka boom, dum. No, women are standing around as getting cultural and doing STEM studies. No, they're definitely not on college spring break on their knees discussing how many vines have they swung from and how many sausages they can swallow, and comparing the different tastes based on ethnicities. Well, it's actually the taste is affected by diet, but don't tell women the truth. They want to think it's all about the ethnicity because they want their social brownie points. Now, when they talk about the red pill, and we all have, every movement has its grifters, right? We all have our problem children. We all have the web we want, women, all the hashtags, all the corruption and assumptions and ingratitude and jealousy. And what's surprising me? I guess it's too old. Where's the Guardian begging me, saying how many articles I've read today of theirs and how much I allegedly, please throw in support. Now, anybody who does not know, the Guardian is run by a trust fund, and they are extremely wealthy. I mean, extremely wealthy. They don't need donations. They don't need money. All their donations are bonuses paid to their individual stars. They're always clapping for more, but they are not poor. Some journalist inherited a lot of wealth, got a case of the gilts, and put all his money into a trust fund, and that's the Guardian. Right, there you go. We're independent journalists for $20 a month. Support us. Who are we? So, who are the Guardian? Right, well, like I said, they're a blog. They're one of the blogs that I identified long ago as where ideas go to get tested. The web we want, right? The feminist control, the censorship. This is where the rise of censorship and digital censorship in particular comes from, is the male feminist, because we don't support them. Remember, they're individuals who get more views than the Guardian. Okay. Yeah, how many? I forgot to add this one. Gosh, thinking about them. So they get over 1 million, right? So, yeah, the majority of them, LinkedIn and Instagram. I don't count Instagram. Instagram is a waste of time, waste of money. It's Instagram is a. If you haven't figured out what Instagram is, it's where rich men go to find their next. Well, it's where Elon goes to find his next baby mama. The next conquest. That's all it is. 600,000 followers on LinkedIn and Instagram. You might as well say it's 10 million, 20 million, 200 million. Because Instagram is nothing, okay? It's a couple of photographs. It is pointless, all right? Andrew Tate, 10 times that. 10 times that. And that's just on X. So he's 10 times the followers on X than The Guardian. And on other platforms, due to his controversial nature, most of the time he's deplatformed. But you do find him on other channels. Now, you don't find him on Asmongold, but as comparison, Asmongold, 3.4 to 3.5 million. That's just his main Twitch channel, Asmongold. As of 2026, he has had a secondary channel, known originally for World of Warcraft content, and he could get streams of up to 4 million subscribers on his YouTube channel. So there's a bit of overlap between the two. But main content, 3 to 3.5. Twitch channel, occasionally smaller but very active audience. And Asmongold TV, his main channel, not including his kick deals, 4 million. So his kick deals, I think, numbers there are fairly consistent. Again, according to Social Blade, it's a fair mix, right? A fair amount of overlap between the two. But his follow count always fluctuates because he often streams on his more serious stuff in the Asmongold clips. So not everybody's watching him live stream every day. So that's where you get the fluctuations from with social numbers. But let's look at Fashion Fit, a well-known manosphere channel, 1.5 on the main, and they have around 296 total followers on their various other platforms, right, views. So they are, right, their health and fitness gets way more views, but their single largest channel, 1.5 million. Now, I don't know how exactly you break it down on views, but when they talk about females, fitness, and finance, they get way more views than they do from any of their manosphere stuff. But they are huge. Not as they're ranked 300,000th, right? So you can have millions of viewers and not make the top 10. It's crazy, but it's true. Now, let's see and look at whatever. You may have remembered a video I did yesterday on Rumble. Can't show you on YouTube. Allegedly will get flagged for online harassment. But a woman who was on whatever podcast was complaining that she was harassed, but for some reason YouTube thinks that I'm harassing her. Possible harassment. So, yeah. Okay, so she went on whatever, and he asked her, she interrupted him, and he said, no, I'm going to make my point. And she started crying. He says, oh, you're going to cry? And she, stormed off. But make of that what you will. He has 4 times the following, allegedly, of others, right? So you have, allegedly, up to double Fresh and Fit. But the average, what shall I say, the average manosphere, way more. These are not outliers. Every niche has outliers, okay? Every niche has about somewhere between 10 to 100 channels that make over 100,000, and the rest then are between 100,000 and 10,000. Then you got way more than that on 1,000 or less. That's So it's like a huge curve. You have this huge curve of millions of channels, thousands of channels, yeah, and then a handful of channels. This is across every niche. Now, Twitch for many is a dying platform, whereas some are not only surviving but thriving. And again, that is all because, let's see, digital, yeah. See, they always say, oh, the digital, right? The Guardian, right? So there's the Guardian at 1 million. 4 times that, around twice that, around 3 times that, and around 10 times that. So can you think that there might be some incentive for them to tell you why the manosphere is failing, why they want you to think that that we're all a bunch of haters? It's social smearing, right? We go back to what is the red pill and why men are becoming, right? Dating frustration has led a lot of men to the manosphere, right? Where after experiencing a romantic rejection, a heartbreak, or a lack of success in the quote-unquote sexual market, men will eventually find manosphere content in their search results. However, younger men, in particularly those who do not have father figures in their life, are looking for what you would consider an alpha archetype as a blueprint for themselves, because they're escaping the single mother syndrome. Okay, if you don't know what that is, it is where young boys with a single mother don't identify as a male, but just identify as, I'm her son. And they have no cultural or masculine identity, right? They are just, that's important distinguish to make. It's not just a lack of gender identity, it's a lack of cultural identity as well. So they are searching for identity. Another one is vulnerable communities. A lot of men in vulnerable communities right now are finding more and more they are isolated in online spaces, and they turn to the larger groups where they see Asmongold and many others. They have online conversations. They find more and more. And that's why I encourage you to start speaking out, start making comments on the videos, it raises your level of perception. It raises your level of activity, and it helps to connect with others in the sphere. Now, perceived disadvantages, right? We all know we do not live in a patriarchy. We live in a gynocentric world. You'd only have to look at the Guardian. If this was a metacentric, if this was a patriarchy, there wouldn't be 1 million simps or wimps at the Guardian, right? There wouldn't be that many. We wouldn't have many channels, right, telling you what the red pill is. It would be a school subject. Manhood would be a school subject if there was a patriarchy. Have you ever had manhood lessons? Right. Now, the role of media and algorithms. The media algorithms are what is constantly against us. This is why, right, men are constantly searching for fitness, finance, and self-improvement. And what are they getting? They're getting the Guardian. They're getting yoga. They're getting OnlyFans, right? The mainstream media is trying to normalize and slow walk red pill. But red pill has been fighting back. You've heard of the meme wars, okay? The right often post memes and the left try to copy our memes, rewrite those memes, you know. We'll do one about Sleepy Joe. Now they don't. Now they make one about Sleepy Trump. Because why? Because they can't meme. All right, memes have got to be based on fact. As a memer myself, I love sometimes. Sometimes I would spend time crafting memes. I don't do it much these days. Mostly for my thumbnails. But there's always a good meme and good. Content always comes from the truth. You don't have to remember, because the truth is easy to remember. It's lived experiences. Now, major backlash, of course, are high-profile bans, negative media coverage. Sometimes you have documentaries like Louis Theroux trying to reinforce negative stereotypes of the Red Pill movement. Now, the core philosophy is walking away from a corrupt system where men are oppressed and women are encouraged to be manipulative and to take men for everything they've got. Hypergamy, everyone knows that women are biologically wired to seek a higher status man, and men increasingly of high status and have for a long time not committed to these women because all they see are gold diggers. Now, the sexual market value, a man's value goes up, but it's only based on looks, money, and his social status. And women, however, yes, once they peak out at 35, their value goes down, not in years, but in days and months, as they become bitter crones. That is a observation made by many red pillers. I'm merely reporting it, YouTube. But the main philosophy of red pill does actually recognize that all women are not like that. And the generalizations and negativity does not truly exist in red pill. It comes from our critics. It comes from The Guardian. It comes from the LA Times. It comes from the New York Post even. All the major publications hate red pill because it takes views off them. Doesn't matter if it's left or right. If they're a major mainstream publication, they are competing for eyeballs and clicks. So what do? First, they deny, right? They deny the red pill movement. When that doesn't work, they attack it, right? That hasn't worked. So they play the victim. Guardian, you're attacking independent journalism. No, that doesn't work. They call you the offender, right? You're an offender. You're a misogynist, you know. So they cannot deny, deflect, project. They attack, belittle, degrade, right? It's all about degrading the competition. Now, not all red pillers are, right, the same. Fresh and Fit is not the same, you know, and whatever, and many others are not the same. There is pretty much no such thing as a universal red pill channel. It is men doing their own thing without the matriarchy. Okay, it has been free from the matriarchy. Originally, it was free from a corrupt system. It has expanded, however, and predominantly focuses on the matriarchy because that is what the system has become. Now, a lot of critics talk about the pathway to radicalizations, that all you're doing is being bitter about failures, that you're helping the New World Order destroy families. Families already destroyed. Most of these young men looking for guidance are coming from single mothers. So why don't tell us we're destroying family? Their families have been destroyed. They're looking for a brotherhood now. And I really love the idea of a universal brotherhood. And yes, I would love us all to wear Hugo Boss and us to have weekend marches and our own organizational structures and that. And then I think, nah, that's not going our own way. You want to wear Hugo Boss? Go ahead. It's not mandatory. You want to buy a book on the manosphere? Go ahead. But we're not selling you the manosphere. We're not coach, right? This is, now, a few did call themselves coaches, but they were not. They were online coaches. I'm talking about the grifters who are selling you the $9.99 weekend and all that stuff. No. Now, I've had a few ideas where, you know, for manosphere and bonding, yes, it's good to go hunting, fishing. We do these things naturally. We don't need a special coach or a special weekend or some third party to give a couple $100 to sit there. No, you want a red pill weekend? Go fishing, go hunting, go racing, go play role-playing game, go skydiving. Do a masculine activity with your fellow man. And that's red pilling. You don't need the dating coaches. And you notice not one of these people are pickup artists. Well, you could probably argue The Guardian is, telling you to be a cuck and a sissy, but Andrew Tate, yeah, I know. But he does these things for attention. It's an act, and people have fallen for it. Now, I'm not saying he's a grifter, however. I'm saying that he put on a persona, right, to reach a younger audience, and it worked. But we have another reason why the manosphere is rising is the decline of feminism. Women are sick of feminism. They're sick and tired of the vitriol, the hatred. They're sick and tired of seeing their sons go to school and be excluded from class while the girls get all the advantages and extra credits and extra studies, extra study time, get extra lessons, while the boys have to sit outside and just play or whatever, you know. 80% of young women identify with feminism in 2019. That has declined with global support falling us to 33% globally. The highest support is in the West at 68%. So globally, feminism is falling faster outside of the West than inside the West. The generational decline, Gen Z, are the most anti-woke. The backlash and fatigue to feminism has seen a rise in traditional gender roles, with many women saying, this is not what I voted for. When did I get a vote? When do I get a say? When it's my turn? And you'll often hear from the Jane Fondas, when it's your turn, dear, you'll know it, right? In other words, the boomers, they won't retire, and they'll keep this going on till their very last breath, trying to sell you feminism. And it is for sale, right? You've got Jane Fonda's videos, you've got her books, you've got many feminists, Germaine Greer and her talks at 100,000 a pop, right? You don't see this in the manosphere. You don't even see, maybe Andrew Tate, but you don't see thousands of manosphere speeches around all corporate, right? All subsidized, these political payoffs to get female organizations off their backs, right? This is what women are seeing, right? Particularly with the rise of Me Too movements, the exhaustion, the never-ending facade, the never-ending disillusionment within the movement. And what's bringing about this? Well, there are mothers and wives of these people who are accused who are saying that's not true. Now, maybe it's cope, who knows? But there's no investigation, there is no trial, it is just immediate suspension, and suddenly your CEO husband is out of a job and some diversity hire is now in his job, and you don't even get a pension, and the millions of dollars in payouts you're expecting are slow walked for years. So the lifestyle you once had, you're downgraded, and you have to hope that eventually the company buys back its shares. So don't think that these golden parachutes and Me Too's, all these CEOs stepping down, are just landing on a big pile of money. No, they are punished in perpetuity by the corporation because they didn't bend the knee and bring them brownie points with the feminist groups. Now, of course, the biggest thing that are driving women away from feminism is the inequality in the movement, where some women are better than others. And we see in arguments even today where different groups at your various No Kings marches are vying for camera space, right? When you spend $80,000 on a banner, it's not an organic march, okay? Allegedly, $3 billion has been spent on these marches. And women are going, gosh, imagine how how many breast cancer clinics that is. Yeah. Money fundraised for women's health are getting diverted to protest groups and six-figure salaries for NGOs. And because there's big signage, big sign writers are getting big money from the protests. So there's an entire industry for feminism. There isn't much of one in the manosphere. Like I said, you want to do something masculine? Go ahead, enjoy your weekend. You don't need our approval or permission or to pay us money to be a red pill. Whereas feminism has become a corporation, a business, and it's become a global political movement, whereas red pill is a social movement. And often is all men entertaining men, informing men, being bonding with or bringing in something to men's attention. Now, of course, we do ask for support, but look at Jane Fonda. Her videos have made her over $100-something million. Something you could have watched for free, almost, on major TV networks at the time, but I guess, and workout videos, they're a dime a dozen. Yet, for some reason, Jane Fonda, we have to spend $100 on her video. And again, the perception of value comes from manipulation, right? And this is, again, what comes to what I'm talking about with the haters in particular, right? That the media haters, right? They want to stop us walking away because it does represent a loss of millions, sometimes billions of dollars in corporate money. But hey, if corporations weren't paying these feminists off for the last 40, 50 years, well, imagine what the price of eggs or petrol would have been, or gas as you call it in America. Just imagine how many products overpriced to pay off these protest groups, or paying off Me Too. Or imagine Congress, right? How much money Congress, if it was open and transparent. So there's a lot of real-world impact the manosphere is making in its quest for truth, justice. So understand, the Red Pill Revolution was not primarily about women. It was primarily about the oppression of men. And don't forget, it's men and women who are oppressing us. The political and economic class, the boomers, the investment class, are the problem. They manipulate the market using feminism. They manipulate the stock market by keeping companies down, right? Destroying CEOs, destroying each other in a race for identity or a race for whatever social group will give them social points so they can talk about their social philosophy. Well, Coca-Cola needs all the best publicity they can get because they're a dying brand. Everybody knows that Coca-Cola is unhealthy for you. Now, I don't know if the original drink was healthy or not. That's for you. But a lot of people don't drink Coke anymore, and they are increasingly desperate, and so are many other products. People say Apple are overpriced, and the more their perception of value goes down, the less people are going to buy their brand. They're not as competitive as they used to be. And, of course, all the attacks on Elon and his brands, they're all trying to destroy each other. But ultimately, if the consumer wins with lower prices, then the red pill has at least achieved that. If we've saved the lives of countless men, again, that is worth it. So, real world impact, I'm glad we're making a real world impact, and I hope we continue to make a real world impact, bringing down prices and saving men's lives. But as for the population crisis, that is a story for another day. We already have the solutions, and they don't involve women. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please support the channel and support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. Now, I may be getting a subscribe star soon. I'm trying to get a subscribe star, but I may be getting one soon. Anybody know how to deal with subscribe star? They won't take my calls. So, anybody know anything about subscribe star? Contact me. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Please take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.